Hello and welcome to the Full Fat Pod.
Hello, welcome to the Ben Askren versus Jake
Hello
Paul
and
prediction.
welcome.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Alright, you know what? This is the Full Fat Podcast and I am Matt saying hello and I'm joined by Terry and Charlie, and this week we thought we'd have a bit of fun with you guys at the start because of course last week we were cutting each other up an awful lot. I hold my hands up, I was doing it as well. We were just very excited about Falcon and Winter Soldier. And you want to bring good energy to every podcast, and sometimes it just spills into the conversation a bit too much. So I apologise for that. This week, we've got a solution, and those of you that are watching the video podcast will be able to see all of these delights. But we've got our own cards, so that if we're really, really gushing to bring up a point in the middle of someone else's point, we'll just put up the card. And if that person's got like a little moment to interject something else, then we'll do that. It'll be a nice little rich tapestry. It's fantastic, isn't it? I also love the lighting. Like Terry's is kind of orange.
I was
as
just
is
holding
red.
mine up to speak and you ignored it.
This is the explaining bit. This is still the intro, bro.
Well, I was doing an example.
Okay.
Example.
Charlie.
We should have red, blue, and white ones for the Falcon Winter Soldier. That's what we should have done.
And that, guys, was an example of how it's going to work. Without further ado, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 5 brought a lot of things together. John Walker has now been stripped of the Captain America title, but seems to have a new lifeline as potentially some other sort of US agent, perhaps. We saw the return of Isaiah into the series, and Mackie was given a lot to think about in terms of whether or not he finally wants to take up the shield. And we also got a lot of Rocky-style training. What did you guys think? Terry?
I think it's confirmed my suspicion that we're going to end with a cliffhanger. I don't think we're going to wrap up in 6 episodes. I've said it every week. I think we're going to end on a cliffhanger and we're going to have to wait for the next thing.
And what did you think of the episode as a package?
As the whole episode, I thought it was really jumpy and wasn't very linear. And it felt like they were just trying to line things up for the next episode. But having said that, I did have a lot of fun with it. I did enjoy a lot of it.
When you say you didn't feel like it was very linear, do you feel like that's because the pacing kind of dictated it was a bit of a slower episode, wasn't it? And I feel like we've been kind of building up to things sort of getting more exciting and more tense right up to Lamar's death last week. And now this week it's sort of, after the battle, sort of shifted gears. And I feel like it's hard to tell how much time has passed in this episode. Could be like a week or 2 weeks of him training with the shield. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, and I don't know, it just felt like the scenes were in the wrong order sometimes. I felt very jolted going from like the boat scene where like Bucky's flirting with Sarah to suddenly like this really emotional scene with Lamar's parents. I felt like the impact was taken away. If we'd have seen that scene like straight after maybe like the court-martial scene, it would have had a lot more impact. Even though it was a fantastic scene, it really did get me. I felt like it was put in the wrong place in the episode, and I felt like that about quite a few scenes. And towards the end, I kept being like, this is the end. Oh, no, we've got another scene. It felt like a lot of false ends.
It's true. I felt very similar in that sense. I enjoyed the episode. I did like it. I do agree in terms of the pacing felt a bit disjointed at times. Like, 1 minute, we're speeding up the action, we're getting this action set piece, and then all of a sudden it's got slow again, then it picks up again, but like in a way that felt weird for the episode before the finale. I did enjoy it. I think there's I think the best stuff in this episode are some of the character moments that we have that I'm sure we'll get into a bit more. But yeah, I do agree with Terry in terms of it. There was a weird disjointedness to this episode, and I wonder if that comes from the reshoots that happened, which Matt was discussing whilst we was like watching the show.
Because there was that whole plot line, wasn't there, of sort of like the flag smashers. A lot of people think it was to do with sort of like a viral storyline, and it might tie into the original idea for Cap 3, which was the Mad Bomb storyline adapted from the comics. They ended up going the Civil War route, and lots of people thought that was going to play out. Of course, because we're living through a pandemic, it wouldn't make sense to do all that stuff. It would be a bit insensitive, so it seems like they've cut it together and restitched storylines, and there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that are kind of delving into that. So yeah, I see what you mean. It's kind of hard to almost criticise the flag smasher plot because even though it's been quite unsatisfying, I feel like Carly's motivations have could be clearer. I can't really fault the series for it, and also when you compare that stuff to everything with Sam's arc, everything with John Walker, I feel like there must have been a better storyline with Carly there that was unfortunately sort of stopped in its tracks.
100%. Like, it does feel that way a lot. I just really liked a lot of the stuff. I just really liked all the John Walker stuff so far. I think that's been fantastic, and more so than ever, this show constantly keeps reminding us why Sam is the perfect Captain America to replace Steve Rogers. Like, they're even like mirroring dialogue and mirroring things that we've seen from Steve Rogers in such a classy, great way. And like, I know, sorry to jump towards the end, but like the advice he gives to Bucky is genuinely great advice. Like
Yeah, no, I thought that as well. Like when he was dishing it out, like it's not often when like you get really well written advice like that to the point where you're like, yeah, this for anyone who was going through similar sort of feelings, this is a perfect summation of what to do and how to carry yourself and what you should be looking for. And I thought it was really astute of him saying like, like you're doing all this to avenge and to right wrongs, but like you're not really doing it for the other people, you're doing it for them. It ties so well in right from the very start of Sam's time in the MCU, because he was of course a counsellor, and they kind of mention that again in the series. And then when you see all these times he like talks to Carly, the way he talks to Bucky, the way he talks to John, he offers genuine, legit advice. It's like it's all tying together, and it makes so much sense why Steve saw that in him. He saw that he has the compassion and the humanitarian side of Captain America, which is crucial, which John Walker has displayed time and time again he does not have. And I think he's on a real tipping point into supervillainy at this point.
100%.
The way he's like, I am Captain America. Actually, I wanted to talk about the... sorry, Terry, you go.
I just wanted to ask about... so you say that you think Mackie is the perfect Captain America. Sam Wilson is the perfect Captain America, is the perfect person to take it over. But how do you feel about the fact that he doesn't have super soldier serum at the moment?
Well, it's a big topic to discuss, isn't it? I think it's... We've been talking a little bit about him getting the serum, haven't we? And obviously each episode it's been pouring it on more and more that is it the right thing for Sam to have that kind of power when so many people like use it to become supremacists. And I definitely think the way it's gone this week, it seems like we're not going to get super soldier serum Falcon Cap. However, something me and Charlie were talking about, it's awesome that the Wakandan thread in this series has tied in with Bucky asking them to make the Falcon suit, and obviously we know they're so technologically advanced, but also their own king has that special Wakandan herb, doesn't he, which grants him his super strength. So I think it would tie in so well with the race themes at play for Sam to go, oh, I'm not going to use this like white man serum which has been used to sort of like hurt like my people like Isaiah and has been used for so many terrible things, and most recently it led John Walker to murder that guy. But instead I could take this Wakandan herb which they might offer to him. Do you know what I mean? That grants the same thing, but it's organic and it's not rooted in that same evil, which I think ties into the theme of him like rejecting kind of the worst parts of the shield and the mantle. But I do think that's not going to happen. I think we're going to get a tech-based Cap.
Yes, I agree. As much as that would be cool, and I do agree with you, and I think it does make like thematic sense as well if they did that, because obviously he's refusing to take the serum for obvious reasons, like the way they treated Isaiah and stuff. I really like that as an idea. I think that's a really cool idea. But yeah, like you said, I don't buy that that's what we're going to get.
No.
I think we're going to get, like you said, a more tech-based Captain America. However, I am thinking, are they going to put some sort of like Wakandan tech on this outfit they're about to get? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there going to be any...
Yeah.
There's got to be something, like, some really cool stuff.
Well, the Black Panther's got that kinetic energy buffer and all that sort of stuff. So you have to think, like, obviously they trust Sam. They, 90% of the way trust Bucky. They trust him enough to build his friend a suit at this point.
Yes.
So you got to think there's got to be some tech upgrades. And now that we've seen the progression of Falcon from 2014 Winter Soldier to Civil War, and he's getting all these different upgrades, and now we look at everything he's got, plus the shield, plus the acrobatic skills. Like, if we just listen it off here, the metal wings, which he can use as a shield, and he can use to like kill those giant monsters in Endgame. He's got a jetpack he can use in combat, a shield, he's got a whipcord, he's got explosives, he's got all the Batman stuff. Yeah. He's got like Red Wing. I hope he gets another Red Wing. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
And when you put all that stuff together, come on, he's got the chops to take on super soldiers or anything Cap could have.
He's like
but at the same time,
he's like Mando, but he's got a shield instead of the spear.
That's a good comparison. He is that sort of character, isn't he? Yeah, and I do like a sort of like a Batman-esque Captain America of like it's tech, and he's still obviously got the combat chops, but it's not quite the doing of Steve Rogers just whacking people and sending them like halfway across a building.
Because I'm still very concerned for him. I'm still very concerned for him. Yeah. I can't help it. I'm terrible for jumping in. I still can't help but feel concerned for him when John Walker is fighting against him. And I think that's something that they've got to try and get me away from. Because at the moment it feels like, like Bucky is the one that he has to rely on to fight John Walker, for example. Because whenever he's around John Walker, I'm like, oh my god, he's going to kill him. Like, there's a different level of strength that he has. As much as, he's giving him a good fight.
I actually fully gasped when he raised the shield above Sam's head. I was literally oh my god, it was really terrifying.
He was going to kill him
so well. Yeah.
That fight scene was very cool, and I like that he did end up pinning down Sam and ripping off his wings. That felt very brutal. But in terms of the actual cinematography of the fight, it was very unsatisfying. It was like a lot of cutting, first of all. And cutting a lot of otherwise well-composed shots of action, like the hand-to-hand stuff. But there was a consistent cut to different wides. And they weren't establishing wides because the fight was always taking place in the same corner of that room. So it just felt so unnecessary. And even some of the wides were pulling away from the fight. So as a chain of shots, it would be close up, close up, close up, close up, wide. Close up, close up, close up, and it's why are we going there? And if you look at Hong Kong cinema, which I'm sure I'm going to hand over to Charlie now because he flashed up the red card as well, and I know this is his bag, so I want to leave him with this. But they talk about doing a new setup every couple of shots, and that's how the fights move along, right? And have so much energy. And I think that's a really great example, and this is a really bad example because as soon as it cuts to a wide, it's why are we here?
100%. We're out of the action. I just think it's weird because I can clearly tell that the choreography is great, and the choreography, I know that it was done by the guys that worked on the Matrix Revolutions, and it's interesting.
They've been on some Corridor Crew videos.
Yes, I know JJ Perry was on is a stunt performer in the first episode, I think, and Eric Linden, who was on the Corridor Crew Stuntman Reacts, he's in a couple of the episodes. So these are guys that have all spoken about on the Corridor Crew and stuff like that they like to show the choreography through that one shot and not to cut too much and only cut on impacts, which is what, like you said, Matt, Hong Kong cinema do. And it was interesting watching this because I was you can clearly tell the choreography's great, but the way they're cutting, like you said, Matt, to pointless shots of wides that are they're not giving you any emotion. Fights are all about the emotion and drawing you into the action and getting you to feel a sort of catharsis or or something in it. And I think that's due to the way you edit it, the way you cut it. Whereas the choreography was great, but if you're not editing the fight scene on those impacts, and instead we're getting close up all the time, then wide, there's no real reason for why we're cutting to these things or why these shots are there. And obviously that's the purpose of film, is to use the tools of the cinematography and stuff to cut together to get the most emotion out of a scene. And I just felt it was weird, especially because there's so much emotion in that scene without that choreography. Without the fight, you strip it. It should have felt. Obviously, they did at points, like you said, Matt, when he's ripping off the thing. But again, they're very, they're action based of what the characters are doing in the scene, not necessarily how they're being shot and directed and edited. Do you see what I'm saying? And I feel that could have just been a bit more improved. Whereas something like the Winter Soldier, for example, just 2 seconds. We'll find out about the Winter Soldier, for example, does very well. It does cut to those big impacts, like when Cap's kneeing the Winter Soldier, and it cuts to like a close up of him. But like, yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, what do you reckon about that, Matt?
I think as well, like I think you're absolutely right. But I think what's also interesting is how well directed the rest of the episode is. There's a lot of storytelling that's purely visual and told in the cut that I was really impressed by. Like, for example, straight after that moment happens, Bucky has, you know, won the shield through combat. He's standing there holding it, and the light's coming through, and you're seeing him stand there. It's almost like a hero moment. And, you know, in a lesser storyline, maybe that would have been the moment Bucky took it, because we know last week he said, or it might have been the week before that, if you're not going to take it, Sam, maybe I will. And instead he just walks over to Sam on the floor, drops it to him, because Sam is the guy for it. And he doesn't say that, but we just come to that moment where where he later apologises. That is the moment where he learns that. Really wonderfully directed. And then, of course, the moment later on where Bucky sees Sam's nephews playing with the shield.
Yeah, fantastic. And I feel like the bit when he wipes the blood off the shield, like, it felt to me like it was... maybe I'm looking into it too much, but I see it as like a metaphor of, like, he's going to get rid of the dirt that this shield has been representing to a lot of people like Isaiah, and he's going to bring a new meaning to what Captain America means, because John Walker has also tried to taint it, and John Walker represents what, you know, the American government at the time wanted Steve Rogers to be, but Steve Rogers obviously is too good of a man to fall into that.
I think we've given a nod to the direction. We should also give a nod to the acting, because throughout the whole series it's been absolutely fantastic. Like,
apart from the empty cups, you said.
Oh,
when we watched
the
it.
Empty cups! Okay. It's like my pet hate when you see on stage or in films people holding cups as if there's nothing in it, and they just swing them around, and you'd be scolded by now. So somebody tell Anthony Mackie to at least pretend there's tea in his cup, please.
But the rest of his performance.
The rest of it's
from
fun.
Terry.
Top tier.
He just doesn't know how to pretend he's got a hot drink, you know?
There was... What I thought was amazing in the performance, I don't know if this is like the lighting that did this, or if it was Mackie that was doing this, but when Mackie was talking to his sister, and it was quite an emotional part, his eyes were like glistening, like he was almost like he was going to cry, like emotionally, when he was talking to. Similar thing when he was talking to Bucky towards the end as well. But I just really like that line that his sister says to him, where she says, like, you helped us out on the boat, and you're helping the country, like, you're helping the world by stopping these people, like, you're doing both. Like, that's why you're great, that's why you should take this on, sort of thing. And I think he needed to hear that from his sister.
I think the sister's been used fantastically throughout the series. Definitely. And also returning to meet Isaiah and having those two scenes kind of play off with each other. Like, you know, you have Isaiah's take, and then when Sam speaks with his sister, he kind of brings it all together and says, like, you know, like, I see why Isaiah felt that way, and it's understandable because of everything that was done to him, but I can't give up, and I still need to become Captain America and show that I'm never going to give up. I think the way the series has taken that final scene in Endgame, where you're just like, oh, he's Captain America now, and actually built so much in the way that, like, it's a critique of America, and it's showing that authentic experience of what it's like to be a black man in America, but then also just as a superhero movie, essentially, it's showing you all the beats. By the time you get to seeing Mackie lobbing that shield at trees, it feels so earned and so awesome. And to see him, like, get the Rocky montage.
Yeah, that was
Terry.
Brilliant.
Sorry, but that Rocky montage. That's why I put my card up, so we can just spend a moment there, because
the biceps.
Well done.
The sweaty biceps.
Oh. I need a cold drink.
You're also a fan of Bucky doing the manual labour with the spanners.
Do you know what? I would take him home to meet my family and talk tools with my dad. Like, it's great. I'm all for it. And, like, when he was all, like, charming with the sister, it really reminded me of the character he played in Gossip Girl. So that was really funny. It kept making me giggle.
Yeah, he did turn on the charm, didn't he? You could see a bit of Sebastian Stan there. Like, hey, Sarah.
It reminded me a bit of the first Bad Boys. Do you know when, like, is it Will Smith that tries it with Martin Lawrence's sister, doesn't he? In the first Bad Boys one, doesn't he? And he gets kind of
I
salty
think
about
the
it.
sister's in the second one.
Second one, that's it. The second one, yeah. Yeah,
If I know my Bad Boys knowledge.
true. That's true. The second
Zero
sister is in
Bad
the second
Boys
one.
knowledge. I'm out.
Oh, don't worry, Tez. We'll go through all 3 Bad Boys.
Has to be done.
The Bad
Has to
Boy
be done.
trilogy. Yeah.
A fantastic trilogy.
I can't wait. I'm really enjoying the Tom Cruise marathon we're on right now.
Yeah, we watched Top Gun, Jerry Maguire, Edge of Tomorrow. Very, but we'll stay on target for now because otherwise I'm going to be talking about Tom Cruise
Exactly.
all the long day.
You'll get me monologuing.
A couple of don't get me monologuing. Couple of things I want to swing by you guys before we sort of wrap up. John Walker meeting Lamar's parents, Zemo's wrap up, and the cameo. If any of you guys want to jump in on any of those 3, or if you want me to indeed lead, and you guys can jump in, let me know.
The cameo.
You're scared to jump in. I'm trying to make it more. I'm trying to make it less. But I'm just so excited to talk about Captain America, guys. Yeah, Terry, Zemo's wrap up. What did you think?
I was a little disappointed. I don't know. I feel like we haven't got enough Zemo. I'd be happy for him to stay.
I feel like it kind of ended up going a bit nowhere, and it didn't make a whole ton of sense. Just batting off what we said last week about like, not that T'Challa ever forgave him, but T'Challa gave him over to the authorities, didn't he? And he didn't kill him, so there was some catharsis there. And obviously the Dora Milaje want him. Whether that makes sense or not is another debate. But the fact that they take him in so that he can get Wakandan justice, but then they take him to the raft from Civil War, which I assume is like run by either the US or UN. It just seems like that whole thread was a bit confused. And also, the prison he escaped from, they never tried to get him back either.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like they're just like locking up all their like anti-heroes. Like we've got Catherine Hahn's character in WandaVision. We know where she is. She's locked up in the Hex. We've got Zemo locked up. We know where he is. He's locked up in the raft. So I feel like they're just putting people in places that we know where they are, so they're easy to access in future series. I'm holding on to my little card.
That is true, because I do think they'll pull Zemo out of the raft for some sort of mission or something, or if he joins the Thunderbolts, something like that. Sorry, Charles, you go.
It's just so I feel
his
so
little
weird
cards.
doing this. Yeah, I got my little card.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to like do it like a bit like...
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm such a little wanker. Here you go. Excuse me, I want to speak. What was I gonna say? So the Zemo stuff I was really disappointed with because it, and I feel like this is where I could buy that there was another plot line going on with him, because it kind of felt like he got brought in. He doesn't. If you think about it from a writing point of view, he doesn't. Now, if that's just the end of it, it's like he didn't really need to be in the rest of it, really. You know, yeah, it was cool to see Zemo, and like I've loved seeing him over this season, but to have it sort of, yeah, exactly, to have it sort of fizzle out like this, I don't know. I just thought it was a bit of a shame.
And it kind of draws even more parallels to X-Men Days of Future Past, because even though I like that movie and I forgive the fact that Magneto needs to come out of jail and come along for the adventure because it's Magneto and you want to see Magneto, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they're like, you'll need Magneto for this mission. It's like, why? They get there and Xavier and Beast are enough to convince Mystique. Like, they don't need Magneto. And it doesn't make sense they would go to all that trouble just so they could get an extra guy in the room to go, Mystique, you need to listen to us. Like, I'm pretty sure Hugh Jackman, with his time travel knowledge, and Xavier and Beast would have been enough. But of course, you don't care. It doesn't matter because you want to see Magneto.
Exactly,
I'm absolutely fine with that. But it's a similar thing here of like,
Definitely.
did they really need Zemo? Like, you could have like a one-line fix for like the information they needed, or you know, Sharon Carter's in Madripoor. We'll go find her, and you wouldn't have needed Zemo at all.
Yeah, 100%.
But having said that, Daniel Bruhl's a blast, so I'm glad he's been there.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
He's been amazing the whole season. 100%.
What did you guys think of?
Let's go talk about the cameo.
Go on, my man.
I
was going to segue into that, but if you're going to do it anyway, you go. You go.
Well. I was just going to say, I think the cameo was weird. That whole scene was a bit weird. But I understand that they're going to set up. I think she's like, and isn't she like a Madam Hydra or something? She turns out to be or something later on in the comics.
Her name's I've got it written down here because I wouldn't remember this. It's Contessa Valentina Allegro de Fontaine, and I think she's affiliated with Hydra. I think she's like a Madame Hydra, which is interesting in the context of John Walker going to work for them. A lot of people think Chris Evans is going to come back as Hydra Cap, but what if it's actually John Walker taking up more of a US agent Hydra Cap kind of mantle long term? Could be interesting.
That
very interesting to see what's going to happen with him.
I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited to see how that's going to play out. I think it's maybe exciting that that Falcon and Winter Soldier have like an arch nemesis now. Obviously, I know Zemo, but he's kind of a nemesis to all the Avengers. Whereas like now that John Walker's like, he's going to be specifically out for them if he's going to bump into them, sort of thing.
And of course, we've not only got Walker with his own shield coming into the fray, but you're speaking of new nemesis. I want to kill the Falcon. Charlie's boy GSP is back in the game.
Oh my god! I was so happy to see my boy back. Also, giving it a go. This is GSP. He's a French Canadian MMA legend, and he's acting next to some great actors, and I feel like he's holding his own.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of him.
I feel like you're so on the money with all that Van Damme 80s action villain / hero sort of vibes. Like, and that feels like it's happened again because he's just come out of nowhere, isn't he? Back into the plot. Like, oh, we need a tough guy. GSP's back.
Yes, I'm all for it. Just get him there for the kicking and punching. That's all you want to see. I'm glad that he's going to be there for the last episode to see. I like that he was in the first episode and then now he's going to be in the last episode. I think that's nice that they sort of bookended that. I'm just kind of sad. I hope nothing happens to him. I want to see him just always pop up. Like, just always, like you said, Backdrop the Leaper. He always gets away somehow and comes back to fight.
Yeah,
I'm
just like slips out of it.
Yeah. I love the format.
As much as it wasn't kind of what we were expecting this week, I do think, and it was a bit jarring, it didn't heat up in an exciting way past that fight. I do think on reflection as a whole episode, when we're actually talking about where everyone's positioned for the next episode and how many people are going to be in it and where Sam is now at the point where he's got the shield training and he feels like he's earned the shield and he's convicted in picking up the mantle. And of course all the character focus moments we got this week, which were kind of evocative of episodes 1 and 2. We saw Sarah again. We got to spend some real time with Sam and Bucky. Is a clunky episode, but structurally I think it was a clunky episode structurally, but I think has some of the best scenes of the whole season.
Yes, I see what you mean there. I would agree. I think it's some fantastic scenes, some really good character beats and emotional moments. And there's one I forgot that I'll talk about in a minute, but Terry wants to speak.
I lost my card.
Oh, sorry. Did you put your card up while I was saying that? Because I've got to be honest, I was looking at the notes I'd written earlier, so I couldn't see the screen. So if you'd put the card up, that wasn't registering at all.
I've lost my card, so I just had my hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, I was just gonna give you gave your overall conclusion, so I was just gonna give my overall.
Oh, shoot.
And just say that I think that the best thing about this episode is also the worst thing about this episode, in that it lined us up beautifully for our finale, but it feels like it was putting everything into place for the finale, if that makes sense. Like, you could feel that like it was all being twisted so that everyone's on the right track, on the train tracks for the next episode.
I do see what you mean. You could feel the structure of like, oh, we're at the finale now. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that's probably why we felt like it was going to cut to black at like a lot of moments.
Yeah.
Because of that, because it was tying in all these things for the next episode. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I think the structure's weird, like we've all agreed with. But it had some really nice character moments. And a moment that I really liked was when, we haven't spoken about yet, is when John Walker meets Lamar's parents. Speaks to them and has that really emotional moment that, like, even though, I don't like this character, I don't like him as a person, I don't like what he represents. Obviously, I like him as a character, but like him as a person, I guess, as a real person. There was a moment where I kind of felt for him in that moment, where you understand. I think they've done such a good job this whole show of, like, everyone's a bit grey, aren't they? Everyone's got a motive that you can understand. And I think they did a really good job of that. And I think that scene in particular, like, I really felt for him. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really like he lost his best friend somewhat, and it was hard to watch. And it was like I'm literally wanting this guy to get his ass beaten 1 minute, and now next minute I'm like feeling sorry for him, and I was like, that's good. That's good. That shows that the episode was good. So
it's definitely smart to humanise him, just before the third act, after he's done something really brutal and done
exactly
the worst thing in the season.
And I'm sure he's going to do some more worse things, but more bad things. But
I do wonder if he, how he had the conversation with Lamar saying that the super serum makes you more of what you are. I wonder if he's internally panicking, thinking like, is this what I really am? If this is what is happening now that I've taken the serum, was I always this? So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to explore if they do.
I think wherever we end up with John Walker, it's going to be interesting next week. I don't think they're going to kill him, but I do think he's going to be... His convictions will go one way or the other. Do you know what I mean? He will finally become a captain of America, if not the Captain America. And I think that might come in the form of US agent, might come in the form of a Hydra Cap style thing. But I definitely think we haven't seen the last of John Walker. And I'm really happy for that, because I do think White Russell's... As you say, Charlie, when we were watching it, has brought an energy to it that's... You're not just getting Kurt Russell 2.0 when you see a White Russell picture.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, he's got his
got
own
dorky
charm.
energy.
Yeah, he's got his own charm, he's got his own charisma, he's got his own vibe. And, and I just think he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely fantastic. And I buy everything he's doing. Because I remember when he got cast, if you look at him and say... I mean, this is what shows how great of an actor he is. If you look at him and say, everybody wants some, he's just kind of hippie stoner dude. He's chilling, and he's got he's not in the best of shape. And now you cut into him here, and he's a bit... And I remember thinking when he got cast, I don't know if he's a great actor, but I don't know if I'm going to buy him as this bad guy. Do you know what I mean? He's not such a nice guy, but he has pulled it off 100%. I think that's probably why it works so well, because obviously at the start they're putting these parallels to, he's quite good. He's a good Captain America at the start, and then obviously he has that term where we see more of him, and I think that's perfect casting on whoever did the casting for this, because he's nailed it. I really think he has nailed it.
And we're positioned next week to get a great villain for the new Captain America. And GSP's going to be there, and it's the finale. And given the fantastic action set piece we got in week 1, I do hope they've put some chips down again for the finale. And with all those pieces there, we're going to get a little bit of filth. I hope. It would be a shame if the best action scene of the series is in that first episode. Although saying that, it's still fantastic.
No, it's true.
It was still fantastic.
I'm very excited. I am just so excited to see the man that is Sam Wilson in that hopefully sweet Captain America costume.
Oh, it looks so good.
Well, yeah, me and Matt, we see a toy action figure that got released before the show, and
it's a leak.
It's a leak, so I don't know if it's official or whatever, but if it looks like that,
we shouldn't really describe it just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case someone gets spoiled.
That is true.
Because it is kind of a spoiler if it's...
But let's just say, I'll just say, if it's true, I'm very happy. I'm very happy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm very happy too.
Yes.